Hey, what's up guys? John here. I'm in the Amalfi Coast right now in Italy. I just got done cliff jumping, and on the drive, it was a long drive. On the drive, I'm just reading headline after headline about large companies like Google, large companies like Apple, other large private companies, and even David Rubenstein, who let Joe Biden stay at his property in Connecticut on Thanksgiving 2 years ago, before Biden was in office, right? And so this guy just raised $500 million to go buy a ton of these small deals, right? And Google and Apple are buying these small deals, buying affordable housing. Now, what I think is worth us all paying attention to is, why are they doing this, and what is going to be the net impact on the housing market, and what should we all be doing in response to this? Because I think it's very, very significant, and I think it says a lot about what could potentially be coming. Now, what I do like about small deals, like the 2 to 4 unit deals that a lot of people don't like, is the fact that you can get 30-year fixed rate debt on these properties. So you can get a 30-year fixed rate loan. You can't get a 30-year fixed rate loan on a 5 unit and above, a commercial property. Generally, it's like a 5 or 7 year ARM where it's going to adjust, and you're likely going to have to refinance the property. But if interest rates continue rising, then it gets a little bit more challenging, simply because the cash flow would have to continue rising, and a lot of people just bought these deals after rents have just increased 15 or 20% inside of the last year, right? And so what I'm looking at right now that I think is important is, and I think a lot of people are looking at, is what does the future really look like when it comes to housing? Like, what does it really look like when it comes to housing? What does it look like when it comes to this economy? And there's some concerns that I have about housing in general is that there's going to be more moratoriums that are going to come forward. And it's going to shake out a lot of investors. I think there's going to be a lot of limitations on property owners. I think they're going to move us in a direction in which there's less power that landlords have, but they're also moving us into a direction with massive inflation, moving us in a direction in which the dollar is going to get likely punished over the next couple of years. So the big thing is, what is the answer? What is the right move when it comes to investing? I'm talking to my friends, a lot of them do extremely well, saying, hey, what are you guys doing? Like, what do you guys think is happening? And some of them believe that, inflation is going to continue to get out of control. Others think that the only thing that's really going to matter is going to be hard, real assets. And then other people saying, I think that holding dollars is going to be the right move because, as inflation gets out of control and things get more unstable, people are going to be selling their assets for dollars because they're not going to have the liquidity, right? And so any one of them could be correct. Even just looking at a lot of the, very wealthy people, any one of them could be correct, any one of them could be wrong. My thought is that it makes more sense to kind of spread out risk from that perspective. If the dollar is going to get punished over the next, let's say, 2 to 5 years, does it make sense to hold dollars? If the dollar is to stand strong, does it make sense to hold these dollars? I personally think that we're going to see a big threat come to the dollar through BRICS, with China, India, Russia, Singapore, Japan. You have all these large countries that are all working together, or attempting to work together, to overthrow the dollar, right? And so when I'm looking at David Rubenstein, who just raised $500 million to buy up a ton of these small deals, and I look at Apple and Google buying up a lot of these small deals as well, getting into affordable housing, to me, this whole conversation around people aren't going to own anything, it's likely going to be based around the fact that we're going to see inflation at levels people simply can't afford, right? And so the big question I have is, the right strategy, I think, could potentially be having a nice balance of cash, having multiple streams of income, or one really strong stream of income in which you can utilize that cash flow to invest in property. And then if you can have properties in, some people, let's say, are from different countries, different locations. If you can own a property in a different country, it isn't that expensive, depending on the area, of course. If you have some type of competitive advantage, it makes sense to utilize it in your business and in your investing strategy. This trip to me has been absolutely amazing because I've learned so much about not just myself, but also the world. We've been traveling for maybe like the last 10 days, but experienced so much, met so many people, so many smart people, and just learned a ton. And one of the things that I'm really leaning into is like the fact of how I could be potentially wrong about certain things. Like I could potentially be wrong. Anyone could be wrong, right? No one knows what's going to happen, right? And so if I am wrong, do I want to be 100% wrong or 50% wrong, right? I personally do think that they're going to close things down again. I personally do think we're going to see the moratoriums come back. I personally do think we're going to see a lot more uncertainty, and I think they are going to push universal basic income. I think they are going to push us into a situation where people are going to need money. They're going to need handouts, right? And so the question is, if that does in fact happen, what is going to be the strongest position to be in? I think it's going to be having a decent real estate portfolio that can weather a storm that's not extremely leveraged and based on having really high rents where rental income has to be through the roof to be able to break even. You know, right now we're seeing the real estate market, people are getting scared, right? That's a good thing if you're an investor. People are starting to get scared. They don't know what's going to happen. And so if you can start picking up deals at distressed prices and you can borrow money, 30-year fixed rate money, and you know, there's going to be upside there. There's going to be upside there long term if you can hold on to the property. And so I'm just really looking at everything. But the fact that Apple and Google, just in the last 3 days, both announced massive pledges into real estate says something. And on that in the same 3-day window, David Rubenstein, the $500 million investment, he also announced this pledge, right? They're getting into real estate so heavy. Jonathan Gray at Blackstone, who heads the real estate division, said that the best hedge against inflation is multifamily real estate, is rental income, right? So the difference is, like, I think that it's going to make a huge difference. You want to get big, like big and fast, like in the next 3 years, to get big enough to where, you know, you can weather a storm. You don't want to have like just one duplex that is overpriced in a city. Like that's not an ideal situation. You want to buy properties below market value, and a good way to determine that would simply be to look at the land value of the property. What's the actual land worth? What would it cost for you to rebuild it? And can you get that property at a massive discount based on when you add up those two numbers? So if it takes, let's say it's a 2,000 square foot property and it's $200 a foot, it costs you 400 grand to build it, and the land's worth 250, right? And so you're at 650 grand. Can you get it for 400 grand, right? Can you get it for 350? Can you get it 375? If the answer is yes, then you're buying it below the cost of what it would take by building it brand new by 50% today. And you and I both know that supply chain issues and labor costs are only likely going to be going up. The only thing that you have to really worry about is Big Bro stepping in with more regulation or stepping in with some changes that could make things more challenging, right? And so that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm looking at what I can potentially do to make myself completely isolated from what could be coming. And real estate, I'm telling you, is not the only thing that I'm thinking of. I have a variety of backup strategies that will, if things really hit the fan, I'm going to be 100% okay. And I'm going to start releasing some of that information very soon with like complete details and sharing with you guys exactly what I'm doing, because I'm looking at this information. I haven't done it yet, but I'm looking at it closely. When I pull the trigger on it, it's going to be a decent size upfront commitment, but it's going to be well worth it, because if everything that we're all fearing happens, I'll be 100% good. And then I'm going to share with you exactly how I'm doing it, what you guys can do, and how much it costs, and all that stuff. But because I'm not 100% on it just yet, I'm going to wait until I am, and once I've already done it, I can speak from experience, and then I'll be able to share with you everything that's going on. You know, like, I'm not the only person that's afraid of inflation and our labor, because all this is happening is like our labor is getting devalued as they continue, and you know, it's putting us all in a position in which we have to increase our skills at such a massive level just to keep up with our current spending due to everything that's going on in this economy, everything that's going on in this world. But I mean, some of what I've experienced here, it's very fascinating as well, is in America, people think that the only thing that you could potentially do in America to get rich is to start a business or to climb the ladder. But there's so many people all over the world that get rich simply by buying one good deal are two good deals and holding on to those deals for a very long time, and those properties just appreciate. The key is really just understanding what a really good deal looks like, knowing how to find it, knowing what to pay for it, and having a great strategy with the deal after you have purchased it. What do you guys think about everything that's going on right now? Do you think real estate's the play? What do you think about Apple, Google, David Rubenstein, all these big players running out there acquiring up all of these deals? I mean, they're going heavy into it. They say that we won't own anything, but I think that they're speaking generally from the perspective of the majority. The majority won't be able to afford it because of what's happening, but the smart and savvy investor that sees what's going on and that they're building out plans and strategies based around these changes, I think these people are going to be in very, very, very good hands. Drop your comments below. Let me know your thoughts on this. Subscribe here. Also subscribe to my second channel. It's going to be an interactive show and a podcast. Discord as well. I just started that. So be sure to subscribe down there. And Twitch, I'm doing like daily live streams over there. So if you want to hop on there and ask me some questions and chat with me, the link for that is below. I'll catch you guys in the next video. If you're interested in being sponsored on my YouTube channel, visit cashnow.video/sponsor and fill out the application.